She promised she stopped stalking my ex and deleted everything. But 2 weeks later, I found a secret Google account and a video I'll never forget. I nearly dropped the tablet when I saw what was on the screen. My wife, the woman I married, the mother of my child, my partner of nearly a decade, had a secret so bizarre, so disturbing, that I genuinely thought I might pass out. What I found rewrote our entire relationship in an instant. It made me question who she really was, and what kind of life I was living without even realizing it. I'm Ryan, 37. I met Kate, now 34, through a group of coworkers 9 years ago at a local bar in Chicago. She was quick-witted, radiant, and easy to love. I'd just escaped a traumatic, emotionally abusive relationship with a woman named April. Kate knew of April, vaguely, just enough to know she had hurt me, but never enough to dwell on. I thought I was lucky. I thought Kate was everything April wasn't. A year after the pandemic, Kate and I got married. We bought a modest craftsman outside Indianapolis and started trying to build a family. It wasn't easy. Kate has pros, but we pushed through. And last summer, after years of false starts and heartbreak, she gave birth to our daughter. I'd never been happier. I had the life I always dreamed of, a cozy house, a baby girl who adored me, and a wife I trusted completely. Until last Monday. Kate was out running errands, and our daughter was down for a nap. My laptop had finally died for good, so I used her work tablet to check on our tax paperwork. We've always shared devices, never a second thought. That's why I didn't think twice before opening her browser. That's also why I nearly collapsed when I saw what was open. There was an incognito tab running in the background. Not strange by itself, but she never used incognito mode. Out of curiosity, I tapped it. Instead of some forgotten shopping cart or Google search, I found something else. A separate Google account, not tied to her usual email. And in it, a photo album named XX. At first, I thought I'd found proof of an affair. But it wasn't that. There were 348 photos. Every single one was of April, my ex. The woman who had manipulated, gaslit, and emotionally worn me down for 5 years. The one I went no contact with the moment we broke up. The one I had never spoken of kindly, and whose only presence in our home had been as a warning of what love should not look like. And yet, here she was. Hundreds of photos. Screenshots from Facebook posts I hadn't seen in years. Zoom-ins of her walking through crowds. High school yearbook scans. Images from her old job. Her hiking with friends. Her at a bonfire I recognized from a trip we took to Idaho. Even more disturbing, some photos had everyone else scribbled out or blurred, leaving only April in perfect clarity. Some were cropped so close it felt voyeuristic. I even found an entire subfolder of close-ups of April's hair. Then it clicked. Kate had changed her hair last year. And it wasn't just a similar look. It was an identical copy of the way April used to wear hers. Braid styled in the exact same pattern. Kate had also started wearing the same brand of boots I once bought April for a hiking trip. The same water bottle. The same jacket. The same job. Kate had shifted her career path to animal care 3 years ago, the exact same field April had studied in college. It didn't feel like a coincidence anymore. It felt like a slow, deliberate transformation. My wife wasn't just mimicking April's style. She was becoming her. I felt sick. Genuinely sick. My stomach turned so violently that I had to grip the sink for balance. And then the panic set in. I looked around the room. Our daughter's toys scattered on the rug, a family photo on the mantel, and suddenly it all felt fake. Manufactured. Staged. What else had Kate copied? How much of what I loved about her wasn't her? I haven't confronted her. Not yet. I'm afraid. Afraid of what she might say, or worse, how she might deny it. I keep playing different scenarios in my head, printing all 348 photos and laying them out on the table like evidence in a crime scene. Taking our daughter and just disappearing. Pretending nothing happened, for the sake of my child. But I don't know what's real anymore. I look at my daughter and wonder, what version of reality is she going to grow up with? Who is the woman raising her? All I know is this. My wife has been trying to become the woman who once destroyed me. And now, I don't know if I've married a stranger or a ghost of someone I thought I left behind. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the cold laundry room floor, Kate's tablet in my lap, our daughter asleep in the next room, and the quiet house around me felt like a stage set I was waking up inside of. The deeper I scrolled, the more my heart pounded. Metadata on the photos showed timestamps from before Kate and I had even started dating. Some of them were nearly a decade old. She hadn't started collecting pictures of April after we began dating. She'd already started before, which meant this wasn't born out of curiosity about my past. She knew about April before she knew much about me. That single detail undid every assumption I had about our relationship. By sunrise, I had made a dozen phone calls. I couldn't think straight, but I knew I couldn't go through this alone. I reached out to Matt, an old friend who worked as a therapist, hoping he could connect me with someone professional. He gave me a list, names, clinics, numbers. I left messages, my voice barely holding it together. Finally, I got us an appointment with a couples therapist 2 weeks out. It felt like years away. Kate came home around 10 a.m., smiling like nothing had happened, a Starbucks cup in one hand and baby wipes in the other. She kissed our daughter and offered me a bite of her bagel like we were just two tired parents making it through another Monday. She had no idea I'd seen everything. I didn't confront her then. I couldn't. My hands were still shaking. My mind was still trying to catch up to what I'd learned. I needed to do this calmly, for our daughter's sake, if nothing else. So when the baby went down for her nap, I asked Kate if she'd take a walk with me. It was cool outside, overcast. We walked a familiar trail near our house, the one we'd strolled during early pregnancy, the one where we once imagined baby names. That walk had always felt peaceful. Until now. Halfway down the trail, I stopped. My voice was calm, measured. I found the folder, I said. She didn't ask which folder. Her face went pale in an instant. There was no denial, no excuses. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Then, suddenly, she looked down and started to cry. Soft, shaking sobs like a child caught in a lie too big to explain. I didn't mean for it to become this, she said. Then everything came out, more than I was prepared for. Kate admitted she'd heard April's name from mutual friends before we ever started dating. When she realized I had been with her, she got curious. She Googled, searched, found old Facebook posts, tags, and public photos. At first, she told herself it was innocent. She just wanted to know the woman I used to love. But then she saw a picture of April laughing with friends, and something about it stuck with her. She looked like someone people chose, Kate said. And I never felt like that. She started trying on parts of April-like outfits. A pair of boots, a blouse, a bracelet. It felt like trying on a better version of me, she whispered. And then it stopped being occasional. It became an obsession. She had you first, Kate said. She got a version of you I never knew. I didn't want to just be loved by you. I wanted to be loved like her. I asked her how far it went. Did she ever contact April? No, she swore. Never directly. But I found ways to stay close. She showed me screenshots, burner accounts she'd created to join April's fitness groups, to follow family members, to track down obscure details. She even found April's private Instagram by befriending one of her former roommates. She cross-referenced outfits using reverse image search. The water bottle, the hiking boots, even a sweater I'd once complimented April on, which Kate tracked down and ordered secondhand from a Canadian reseller. Every time I found something new, it felt like winning, she said. Like I was building myself into someone worthy of you. I asked her the question that had been rotting in my stomach all night. Did you ever love me? Or just the version of me that belonged to her? She froze. Her eyes filled again. I love you, she said. I swear I do. I just didn't know how to love myself. The truth landed like a stone in my gut. Kate didn't love me because of who I was. She loved me because of who I'd been with. My trauma, my past, my pain, all things she had used to reconstruct herself. She had tried to become the very woman who hurt me the most. I told her we needed space, that I couldn't process any of this alone, that we were going to therapy, and she needed to be honest from this point forward. She nodded, trembling. She swore she'd stop, that she'd delete everything, that she'd work on herself. But the worst part? I don't know if I believe her. I can't help but wonder what parts of her are real and what parts were stitched together from fragments of someone I ran from long ago. And the more I wonder that, the more I feel like I don't know the woman raising my daughter. For a while, things were quiet, but not peaceful. Kate deleted the photo album in front of me. She signed out of the secret Google account, swore she hadn't saved anything locally, and promised she was done with all of it. She even started dressing differently again, more neutrally, pulling back from the distinct outfits and hairstyles that once mimicked April's. To an outsider, it might have looked like we were recovering. But inside our home, the silence was thick, tense. I found myself watching her out of the corner of my eye, flinching every time she picked up her phone or left the room for too long. I started checking browser histories and double-checking sync devices, not because I didn't want to trust her, but because I couldn't. Not anymore. And that's when something strange happened. A memory resurfaced, one I hadn't thought about in years. It was around 2 a.m. I'd just finished rocking our daughter back to sleep. She'd had a nightmare and was whimpering in her crib, clutching her stuffed giraffe. I laid her back down and sat beside the nightlight for a minute, watching her breathe. And then, for no reason I could explain, my mind jumped back to 2014. April and I were living in Milwaukee back then. Our relationship was already eroding, but I didn't know it yet. One night, I confronted her about a text message from a coworker, the kind of message you don't send someone unless something is happening. She didn't deny it. She barely reacted. What she did say stuck with me. I just wanted someone to watch me. Someone to want me so much they couldn't look away. At the time, I chalked it up to self-centeredness. But now, it echoed in my head with a different tone. Because that's exactly what Kate had been doing. Watching, following, transforming. A chill ran down my spine. Could she have known April before she knew me? The idea felt insane. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how little I truly knew about Kate's life before we met. She always said we met through a group of coworkers at that downtown bar in Chicago. But that night had always felt oddly convenient, like she knew exactly how to be what I needed when I was at my lowest. The next morning, while Kate was out running errands, I pulled out an old external hard drive. I hadn't used it in years, but I remembered storing some old photos from my relationship with April on it. Pictures I never looked at anymore, but couldn't bring myself to delete. And that's when I found it. A group photo from a college theater event April had dragged me to in 2012. She was doing costume design back then, and I barely knew anyone there. The photo was grainy, packed with people, but clear enough. And there, almost in the corner, drink in hand, not looking at the camera, but staring directly at April, was Kate. It didn't make sense. I hadn't met Kate until 2 years later. At least, I thought I hadn't. I stared at the screen for a long time, my throat dry, heart pounding. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't socializing. She was watching, like she'd been watching for a while. I closed the photo and sat back, overwhelmed. What if I hadn't just been a rebound from a toxic relationship? What if I was a target? What if Kate had seen April first, followed her, studied her, and then found me? That night, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure I wasn't losing my mind. But I began noticing new things. Inconsistencies. Little details and stories Kate had told me that didn't line up. She said she'd gone to a college across town, but the mixer April dragged me to had been on that very campus. She said she didn't know anyone from April's social circles, but she'd commented once, months ago, about how familiar April's cousin looked in a picture I had pulled up on Facebook. I had brushed it off at the time. Now, it made me nauseous. Even our first meeting had a strange convenience to it. She had laughed at a playlist I'd mentioned, saying she used to listen to my college radio show. At the time, I'd been flattered. But now, it felt premeditated. Did she plan our meeting? Had she crafted herself based on who she thought I wanted? I started keeping my own folder. Nothing obsessive, just a digital notepad of timelines, photos, conversations I now viewed in a different light. I wasn't sure what I was building. Evidence? A map? Or maybe just a lifeline, something to prove to myself that I wasn't imagining it all. Because now, for the first time since this all began, a terrifying question sat in my chest like a stone. Did Kate ever love me? Or had she just chosen me? Because I once belonged to the woman she couldn't stop watching? The morning I confronted Kate, the world outside was eerily calm. A dull gray sky hung heavy over the trees. No wind, no birds. Just that kind of stillness that makes everything feel like it's holding its breath. Our daughter had just gone down for her nap. Kate was at the table folding laundry, humming to herself. A slow, absent rhythm. She didn't notice the way I was watching her, like I was trying to remember who she really was beneath the skin of the woman I married. I found a photo of you, I said quietly. From a university theater event in 2012. She stopped mid-fold. The baby sock slipped from her hand and hit the floor. What? She said too quickly. You told me we met for the first time in 2014. But there you were, in the background, watching April. Her expression didn't change immediately. But her eyes flicked, left, then back. Like her brain was scrambling through old blueprints of the lies she'd built. And then, a shift. Not panic. Not anger. Just resignation. "I didn't think you'd ever find that picture," she whispered. My stomach dropped. "So it was you." She nodded slowly, almost like she was admitting to borrowing something she'd never returned. "I wasn't stalking you. Not then," she said. "I didn't even know your name. I was following her." The confession hit like a slap. Cold. Sudden. Precise. "I'd seen April online years ago," Kate continued. "A public blog. She was magnetic. Confident. Everything I wasn't. I started watching her life, quietly. Then I found out she had a boyfriend. You." She said it like it explained everything. Like her fascination with April gave her some kind of emotional permission to pursue me. "And then when you two broke up, you disappeared. No photos. No posts. I wanted to know what happened to you. If she'd broken you too. I found a tagged photo from a company event. That's how I knew where you worked." The air in my lungs turned sharp. "So you tracked me down?" I asked. "You made sure we met." She looked down, ashamed. But she didn't deny it. "I didn't plan to fall in love with you," she said. "I just wanted to know what it felt like to be part of her story." I pushed back from the table, the chair legs dragging across the tile like a warning bell. "I wasn't a person to you," I said. "I was a chapter you skipped ahead to. A character in someone else's book." Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't feel sympathy. Just exhaustion. Anger. Disbelief. "I thought I could be better than her," she said softly. "If I wore the right things. Said the right words. Made you smile the way she never could." "But that's not love," I said. "That's theft." She stood suddenly, desperate. "But we are happy. We have a daughter. We built a life." "No," I said firmly. "I built a life with someone I thought I knew. Someone who didn't model herself after the woman who broke me." She collapsed to the floor in tears, repeating, "I didn't mean to hurt you," over and over. But all I could think was, "You never built yourself. You built a replica." And I fell for it. Later that night, she slept in our bed. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening for every sound, every breath, every door hinge. And when she went out for groceries the next day, I checked her laptop, not because I didn't trust her, but because I already knew. And there it was. A new Google account, created 5 days ago. The username wasn't hers. It was a scrambled version of April's maiden name, phonetically disguised. There were no photos in the account, no new folders, but it was logged in and waiting. Whatever promises Kate had made, whatever counseling or reflection she claimed to be doing, none of it mattered now, because she hadn't stopped. She just went underground. And for the first time since all of this began, I realized something with perfect clarity. Kate didn't fall in love with me. She infiltrated me. Betrayal doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't knock before entering. It slips through the cracks, soft, slow, deliberate, until one day, you realize you've been sleeping beside a stranger. After I discovered Kate's new account, created under a misspelled variation of April's name, I didn't confront her. There wasn't any point in hearing more rehearsed apologies, more tears that couldn't undo what she'd done. I needed proof, and I needed to know just how far this went. So I watched. For 2 weeks, I lived a double life, smiling at breakfast, cooing to our daughter, lying beside my wife at night. And then, in the dark, I'd log into our sync devices, trace her digital footprints, every move she made behind that blank profile. And then I found it, hidden deep in her cloud storage. A screen recording, shaky but clear. It was April, older now, radiant, laughing in a Zoom window with colleagues during a virtual workshop. The session had been part of a closed professional group, one I later learned was difficult to access unless you were referred. Kate had wormed her way in under a fake identity. She wasn't just watching my ex again. She had infiltrated her life. That was the moment something inside me fractured. Not from rage, but something worse. Numbness. Like a part of me quietly curled up and died. This wasn't obsession anymore. It was a pattern. She'd promised me she was done. She'd cried. Swore she'd deleted everything. She sat beside me in therapy, nodded through every session. And yet, here we were again. This time, I didn't tell her. I waited until she left to run errands. Then I packed a single overnight bag for our daughter. I didn't need much, just her things. I could buy everything else later. I wrote a letter. Nothing dramatic. Just the truth, plain and painful. I told Kate I knew about the new account. About the Zoom session. About the fake name. I told her I was leaving, taking our daughter to my mother's, and that I'd already contacted a lawyer to begin the separation process. I told her she wasn't being cut off from her daughter, but she'd need a psychiatric evaluation and documented therapy before any visitation could even begin. And at the bottom of the page, I wrote, "You didn't fall in love with me. You fell in love with what I represented, and that's not something I can carry anymore." I left the letter on the kitchen table, took our daughter, her giraffe, and a blanket, and we left. I didn't look back. We've been at my mother's for a month now. The house smells like cedar and cinnamon. My daughter giggles at the cat. I'm still struggling to sleep, but at least the air feels honest. Kate emailed me once. Just once. "I'm sorry. I'll get help. Please tell her I love her." I haven't responded. I forwarded the message to my attorney. I don't hate her. I wish I did. I wish I could wrap this all in rage and be done with it. But it's not rage I feel. It's grief. For the years I gave to a person who never really existed. For the love I thought was real. For the version of myself I'll never get back. I don't know what happens next. Maybe joint custody. Maybe courts. Maybe more therapy. But this time, I'm not building my life around someone else's illusion. And for the first time in a decade, I can finally say, I am no one's replica.